This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, or so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Hi there. Welcome to episode 252 of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with your host, David Charlton. Now, today, I'm going to talk about a topic, a situation that I've come across an awful lot in recent weeks, and that is working with a professional footballer or a number of professional footballers who are out of contract. That's right, it is now August, and there are hundreds upon hundreds of professional footballers who find themselves without a club. Their contracts have come to an end and they face an uncertain future. Now, in lots of cases, the players in question may well not be receiving support from their previous clubs. That has happened to a lot of players, and it happens an awful lot in football. So that leaves them in a pretty precarious situation. Not just financially and about their future and their career, but also psychologically. Now, if you think about it, many professional footballers, they may have started in the academy system, or they may have got into the game a little bit later. However, they'll be used to years and many years of friendships, training, regular routines, again, back to training there, in the gym, in a group situation, and then obviously matches on a weekend and potentially midweek. That is all cast to one side when you're out of a club. So your identity is messed with. It isn't half messed with. You go from describing yourself as a professional footballer, perhaps a successful professional footballer who earns X amount of money, drives different cars, lives in a nice fancy house, to then being this person who doesn't play football, who doesn't know what to do on a day-to-day basis, or maybe who tries to play football, but they're playing by themselves an awful lot, or with a friend. They're without a club. They're training an awful lot by themselves in the gym, which can be really, really difficult for some people. And then with this loss of identity, or this identity shift, can come feelings of grief. So be that denial, anger, acceptance, depression, and then you've got bargaining. So we're thinking about the grief cycle here. So if we think about the grief cycle, we'll start with denial there. So a player is likely to be confused about the situation. Why is it that this is happening to me? They're probably spending an awful lot of time in the past, confused, analysing their situation, analysing past conversations they've had with coaches or other staff. Perhaps they might well be on social media comparing themselves to former teammates or other people, and then fear kicks in. They might well be feeling a bit numb or dazed, if you like. Then we've got anger. If conversations have taken place which have misled the player, well, there could be a lot of anger and frustration taking place. And sadly, this is rife in professional football. There's many players out there who will have been promised contracts, who will have been with clubs for a number of years, yet they find themselves in the situation where they're being lied to and they haven't got a club. And with this becomes irritability. So they're irritable with their partner, with their children, with their friends. Then you've got shame. They see it as quite shameful, the fact that they're out of a club. So they're embarrassed when people are asking them what's happening in their life. They'll choose to ignore their social media. They'll ignore their phone at times because they're feeling low, which takes us on to depression. So depression, well, it's likely that the player is going to be overwhelmed. They're going to be feeling pretty helpless about their situation. So if you're the player's partner, or perhaps a parent of a player, or even a friend, just watch out for signs. Maybe they lack energy. They appear mentally exhausted. They're just not themselves. This is a clear sign that the depressive side of the grief cycle is kicking in. Now, it may well only last a day or two or a week or two. it doesn't mean they're in full-blown depression. This is quite a natural part of losing your job, of losing a contract in football. The complete opposite of depression would be, actually, we're okay with this. We're in control. We're accepting of the situation. So it's acceptance. It might well be that you've seen it coming, the fact that you're going to be released, and you are okay with it. So with your agent or with your family or by yourself, you're exploring your options. You're trying to work it out, what it is that you're going to do next. You've got plans in place on a daily basis, and actually you're doing okay. Which now takes me on to bargaining. This is when you're reaching out to other people. So they're sharing their stories of what's happened to them. And I'd really encourage this. And you're willing to talk to other people, people like myself or other professionals, or just your friends and your family. Yeah, deep down, you might be struggling to find meaning. Again, you might well be confused about this whole situation. And where does mental toughness come into here? Well, I think it's fair to say in a number of podcast episodes, we've touched on the fact that mental toughness can be built through experience. And yeah, football is a brutal sport, certainly professional football. And this can really help you with your mental toughness, no end. So you'll be stronger as a result of this. But that said, for those who are lacking mental toughness, especially, they're going to struggle, or there's a fair chance that they will struggle to be able to cope with the circumstances, the lies, the covers up, the blaming that's taken place, the different agendas that often take place in professional football, from be that the coach, from the recruitment team, the scouts, the agents. There's a lot of confusion that does take place, and it all then goes on to impact the player. So a little message there for the player. Firstly, if you feel like your self-esteem, your self-confidence has been affected, as well as your mental health has been affected, I'd really encourage you to seek help, be that with a professional like myself or another professional. But certainly make sure they've got the qualifications and the knowledge and insight to be able to help you. And then, for those decision makers in the game, a little message too. Just remember that there's not just a player, a commodity here. There's a person that you're dealing with. So could you actually treat them with respect, the respect that they deserve? So back to the player now. As I alluded to, many players will not feel great in this situation. Their confidence will be at an all-time low, or very low in some cases. Their self-esteem is going to take a hit. Now, as a sports psychologist, how I would help you would be to think about goals. Goals for the next day, for the next week, to try and keep you focused. I'd help you try and process different emotions. I've alluded to the grief cycle there. We try and work through the frustration, the anger, the confusion, things like that. I do that by listening to you, letting you offload. A counselling style approach, essentially, providing you direction as well and some positivity. At the end of the day, as a practitioner, as a sports psychologist, I'm going to treat you with respect. I'm going to help you feel valued. And that is part of what we do as sports psychologists. So if you or a friend or a colleague do need some help, some support, you see some of the signs that I've mentioned in this video, please do reach out. Myself or some of my team would love to be able to help you. I hope you have a good day. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport-Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.